Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to keep up to date with the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently joined by Paul and Spurs Chemo, so I'll raise the mic on them and hopefully get a bit of their dulcet tones while I set up for the live show.
I kind of disagree with if it's there. It's only there if it's measured there. Because again, we see the sun, but where exactly is the sun? Do we know the precise location of that sun? And some say 93 million, we say a couple of thousand. So, I don't know.
Have you ever seen that video Dr. Zach did? It was probably about a year or so ago. I don't remember. Where he actually showed how you can actually, using a flat table with a lens, show that using flat table to prove that the Earth could be round. And he's like, and it's because of the angle, you know, and the optics. And then, but even that same demonstration proved that from an observation perspective, you cannot calculate the actual location of the sun either. It's like
that's what I mean. So just because, and I know, again, it's kind of a confusing thing. Because I get what Nathan is saying. It's there, so we see it. It means it's. But the question there, like when you say there, not you, just in general.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, like where there? Do you mean 10 meters away? Is it 100 miles? Or, you know, this is what we have to be careful. Because like I say, with soundless video, they'll say, well, we see curvature. We can't deny we see what looks to be curved, but people will say he's faked it, it's CGI, it's an illusion. So for me, it has to be supported by a measurement. So we saw the lighthouse, Morgar Lighthouse. Why? Because at this height and that distance, we see it. So according to your board, we're not...
Hey, Brian here. Slick James.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
I finally made it through Hangouts. I was able to figure it out.
Okay. I'm glad to have you. I don't think Nathan's really he's come in. He unmuted himself. I don't know if he's listening or what he's doing.
What do you think, Nathan? Because I didn't want to say this yesterday when it was all hot and heavy and like just make an argument. But I agree. I was agreeing with Brenda a little bit. Like, just because something is there, the only way we can verify it's there is with the measurement. So we know it's 10 miles away or the sun is whatever miles away. You know, just because we see something. So I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Well, I think I have an answer, but I kind of briefly said it, but nobody. I'm sorry, Nathan. If you want, I thought you were gone. You want to?
Yeah, I was just putting my kid to sleep. Somebody's got some terrible distortion. It's you, Slick. So if you can try and stay on mute if you're not talking, just because it's.
Is it me?
Yeah,
sorry.
Got some squeaky noises coming from you, I'm afraid.
Me.
It's a concrete noun. If I hold up a book and go book, do I need to justify what it is? Still got feedback from you, Slick. So if you move your mouse over the Hangouts page, if you're on a computer, just there's a little mute button at the top. Should appear.
Nathan, I want to make sure it's not me.
It is definitely you.
What do I do here? My mic is on mute.
Okay. Not doing it when you're on mute anyway. That's good.
Let me see. Tell me something. I'm going to take it off mute and see what happens.
Okay. No, well, it's definitely not going to do it on mute, but your level's dancing up and down, so I know who it is, you see. It's got little lights that tell me who's causing the noise.
Not me, I don't think.
No, it's all good. It's Slick, but as long as you're on mute it's not affecting you. So if unless someone else is talking over you, it shouldn't be a problem as long as you're on mute, Slick, when you're not talking.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, because on Sunday your Skype connection was absolutely perfect.
Slicks or mine?
Slicks.
Slicks, yeah.
2 minutes and we're going live.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really want to bring this up and be like on Brenda's side because like the way I was seeing it. But
Tell
yeah,
me,
I kind of get the argument. Yeah, it's there, we see it, but
hold
Nathan,
on.
the question
What,
is
Spurs?
where do we see? Where exactly is it?
Spurs, hold on 1 second. Can you hear me now? I had to put the headphones on. Is that better?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
No,
good.
no.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So I just needed the headphones. Okay, carry on.
It would always just be good that when you're not talking, just mute yourself. That way it doesn't
Okay.
bring you
I
background.
mean, I
Should
don't
be
mind
fine.
getting into it
Should be fine with
live
the
if you
headphones.
want, but
Well, let me ask you this: are you still getting noise? Because I got my headphones on
No,
now.
with
It
the
shouldn't be
headphones.
feeding back.
No, not with the headphones. It seems perfect. There's no clicky sounds,
Okay.
so it's all good.
Great.
It's a concrete noun, Spurs. So if you look out your
Right.
window and see a car, do you
yeah.
have to justify seeing it and what it is and where it is, or is it just a car that you see?
Well, again, if we see curvature and soundless video, what do we do then?
Right, hold on. You're doing a baller trick. We're talking about this lighthouse and whether or not it's there, right? There it is on screen. There it is. It's a lighthouse next to a village on the Isle of Man. We see
Yeah,
it.
but isn't
There it is.
Isn't it? Yeah, but isn't it there because of the measurements, the distance? That's
So
why we
you
went
think-
down there, right?
Sorry, you think that the distance has caused the lighthouse to be there? No, someone built it, Spurs. They built it, and we see it from a long way away. That's it. It's a concrete noun.
Yeah,
Not
but
a
again,
phenomena,
I'm
it's
saying,
just something we see.
the reason we went there was to verify the height to make sure you could see it at this distance.
No, the ballers do that to make sure we can see it, because if we can't see it according to their measurement, they'll tell you it's a fucking hologram. That's them, not us. We just say we see it because we do. We don't have to give any further explanation when we see
I'm sorry,
something.
I didn't want to get into this live, but I kind of disagree with that.
Okay, right.
The only way we can verify
Travis,
that
can
it's
you
there
mute?
is
Travis,
by
you're
the
causing a
measurement.
shitload of disturbance. Travis.
Hello.
Yeah, you're causing an absolute shitload of disturbance. Thank you. Right, so what's wrong with just saying, I see a lighthouse, Spurs? You tell me where I'm wrong.
It's not that, again, it's not that you're wrong. It's the question of where is it?
On
Is it
screen
actually the
a moment ago. So I'm answering you. On screen a moment ago, lighthouse. What's wrong with that assertion?
Because unless you have a measurement, Nathan, how do you know it's actually where you say it is?
Because I've got a set of bloody eyeballs and I can see it. What is wrong with you, Spurs? I look at something and see it and say, there it is, I see it. And you're saying there's an issue with that unless you measure it first. No. They say there's an issue because if they measure it and say there's Earth curve in the way, they're then going to tell you it's a hologram. So they need to measure something, we don't. As flat earthers, we can look at something miles and miles and miles away and just say lighthouse without needing to explain it at all. They need to measure it to check whether or not they can see it, Spurs. That's them, not me.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. Shout out to Colin Turner for hitting the super chat during the intro. Thank you very much indeed for your support. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Slick James Johnson, Paul, Spurs Chemo, and The Plain Truth. Good to have you all.
Hello.
Hello. What ho?
Good to be here.
So, I'm happy to carry on the conversation. I had to cut you off to start the show, Spurs. So we were talking about things being
I'm not trying to argue with this. And I want there to be a divide in just what a viewpoint. And
I can give us a tangible demonstration. I just put in the Hangout a picture of the lighthouse that I shot this morning. So if you want to talk about lighthouses, we can say, look, there's a lighthouse.
right. Well, I mean, again, how to say? I mean, it's a good thing we discussed this previously. So the idea of we see it because it's there is not, for me, is not always the case unless you can verify it's where you say it is.
I can with my eyeballs.
Yeah, pull up my picture and we'll have this discussion.
I don't understand still, Spurs, right? So I look at this piece of land, right? And I know that it's the north end of the Isle of Man. Now, is that unfair to declare that I can see it? Because I can. There it is.
But again, for me, if the sun was setting at this horizon where we can see it, would we say the sun is really there? That's the question. Is the sun really touching the waters?
Hold on, you've done it again. So we were talking about land and lighthouses. Now you're talking about the sun. Now I can physically go to the north end of the Isle of Man and verify what it is. Now, can you go to the sun and do the same and double check that it is indeed what you're seeing?
Well, that was the point. We went to verify at this height, this was the correct height, this is the distance, and that we can see that what we're looking at is not an illusion. We verified with measurements. That's the point. So
I don't need to verify something's not an illusion with measurements. So all that does is I said this on the pre-show. The globers need to measure to decide whether or not they can see it, even though it's on a picture. Spurs, you can see it. It is definitely there. Now, from that point, I need do nothing. Zero. I don't have to measure.
Hold on.
I don't have to do anything.
Nathan, you said definitely there. Definitely there.
Got a photo of it, Spurs. Got a photo.
Even if we were there, we went there, even if we saw it with our own eyes, how do we verify that what we are seeing is actually there? And for me, it has to be measured. This is what we're talking about, a measured world, a measured place.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, we spent 3 months doing it, Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm not arguing with what you're saying per se. My point is that when we see something like Soundly's curvature, we see it. We see, and you'd have to just probably be in denial to say what we don't see from Soundly is, we see curvature, curved surface. Now, how do we verify that Soundly's image is actually curving? And for me, you have to measure the drop. This is what I was saying the other day. George would have to measure the drop to verify that what we see is actually true. So the lighthouse was pretty much the same. We went to check the distance, the height, to make sure we're at the right height, to make sure we can see what could it be seen, and we could see it. The distance told us that we could see it. So for me, it's if we see something like, again, I could think of many things. Like I said, we see the sun, we see ships disappearing bottom first. Are they really disappearing bottom first? For me, we'd have to verify that this ship is really disappearing bottom first. There's numerous things like this, and this is why we have to measure. For me, measuring strict measurements. But again, this is why I'm not arguing what you're saying, because I get what you're saying. We see it, so it's there. But it's not the question of do we see it. It's the question of where's its location.
Where we see it. This is just nonsense, Spurs. Right, can you see what's on screen now?
Let's have a look.
A little path going
cliff,
up a little hill.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
The cliff, yes.
Can you see it?
The cliff, yes, I can see the mountain cliff.
Yes, you can see it. So it is there then.
it's again, I'm not trying to get into an argument here.
Well,
Like,
I am.
see-
Spurs, what you're saying is I don't get to trust what I see and just say what I see. That's not reasonable. So I've just put a cliff on screen and said, can you see it? And you're stuttering and muttering around it. I can just say, yes, that's a cliff. Yeah, I do see it. It is there. But for some reason, you think that's somehow a problem and that I need to measure it.
But we're
No, I don't.
we're talking about in terms of where their location,
On
pinpointing.
screen. So this is the third time you're doing it. Are you deliberately here to wind me up? We see it
No.
on the screen, in the camera viewfinder, with our eyeballs. We see stuff, and that's the end. You don't need to justify seeing a concrete noun. It's a concrete noun. No explanation required. Book, tree, car, lighthouse.
Just
Concrete
to let you
noun.
know, Nathan, there's a bad echo on you.
All right, let me just. I'm going to mute for a little bit and just have a think. Because again, this is not for me. It's not an argument. It's just more of where is the object that you're saying? Not you, but just.
Let's do it a fourth
time.
time.
Nathan.
Very annoying, Spurs. Right, on screen now, with my mouse. Can you see these huts? Can you see them?
Yeah, I can see them.
Have you
There.
verified that? Have you measured to them? How do you know you can see them, Spurs? Are they not just there, obviously bloody visible? Am I not allowed to trust my eyes? Surely we must measure this first, before we can verify that we see what we bloody see with our own two eyes. Right,
Yeah,
Spurs?
What we see in our immediate surroundings.
Yeah, like a lighthouse, Spurs. I see that in my immediate surroundings. 31 miles distant, lighthouse.
We almost say things like at arm's length. So if things are at arm's length, we can grab them, we can touch them. I could reach those houses and say, yeah, they are there. I could tell you how many feet away, I could estimate. But when things get further and further away, to estimate the distance, the feet, where exactly the location of these things are, you need to.
That doesn't verify that they're there. Spurs, that doesn't verify that they're there. That verifies the distance to them. Not that they're there. You can verify that with your eyeballs and you don't need a tape measure. The fact that this is further away, this hill in the distance, versus this post, I don't need to run a tape measure to tell you I definitely see it. It's a concrete noun.
Hey, Nathan, can I have a can I explain what's happening with Spurs?
Sure, go ahead.
What's happening with Spurs is that, remember we were talking about when you're trying to see through an old painting. In other words, he's seeing with the indoctrination that he came up with. See, he was taught that when you see something, you have to measure it. You can't just accept what you see with your eyes. So that's what he's going through. The problem is that he's indoctrinated with thinking that he must question. Whereas if he was never told that, then he would never be raising this question in the first place.
Who said that? Who said this?
That was James.
James. Okay, James, where is the sun?
Where you said, where is the sun?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is my answer to that. Why do you want to know?
I'd like to measure it.
Okay, and this is my question. Why?
So I know the distance, how far.
I know, but why? You're telling me that you want to measure it, but what I'm asking is, what is the purpose of this measurement? What is the reason that you want to know the distance?
Well, just for my own personal satisfaction. I may be interested in building a device one day, traveling there. I have many reasons, but I just want to know where is the sun.
Right, but if you never were educated with the globe mentality, that's when you have to ask yourself, are you really interested in where the sun is? Because when you look at anything else, you don't concern yourself with the distance. When you see a tree, you just say, well, there's a tree. You don't concern your...
But if I'm traveling somewhere, I want to know how far, how long will it take me to get to, say, Australia? It's too far, then I can consider, oh, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe I do. So people like to know things so they can go about their day and operate, in just normal regular life. So
Sure.
How long, what time? So just out of interest, how far is the sun?
But now the question you have to ask yourself is, are you planning on traveling to the sun?
Well, if I knew how far it was, it might be worthwhile If they say 93, if you say 93 million miles away, well then no, it's not worth my while. It'll take a very long time. If you say it's very close, it's within the clouds, then yeah, I might find an opportunity to go there. You see?
It's not in
But-
the
Hey,
clouds.
Tommy, how you doing?
It's behind everything. It's
Hear us?
at the edge to where you can see
You're
it.
right.
So you see the problem here. You've got
Hello.
Arwin now saying it's here, it's there, and
There you
I would like to know where is it? So this is why.
See-
Go on.
The point that I'm trying to make is that if it wasn't for your global indoctrination, you wouldn't want to know that.
Why? If I want to know where the dome is. How high is the dome? If there's a dome, I want to know if there's a wall. If there is a wall, I want to know how far does this wall extend?
But what
Hello?
makes you think that
is
there's a
troll?
wall?
Hold on one second. Oh, it's P.
Hi.
How you doing, P?
Good.
See what I'm saying? What is making you ask these questions is what you have to ask
I
yourself.
think it's part of being human. Because as children, we are curious. We don't stop asking questions, and obviously, as we grow up and through the education system, that is beaten out of us and taken out of us, and we stop asking and we stop being curious. So, if we did live on a flat Earth, which we do, if there was a dome, which I think there is, I want to know what it's made out of, just out of interest, my curiosity. How can you explain someone's curiosity? You tell me.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with curiosity. It's a natural thing. The thing is, you have to question why are you curious about certain things.
Well, that's
Hold on, let me finish. The reason that you're curious about certain things is because you had ideas implanted to you as a child. Now, had you not had those ideas implanted into you, you would not be curious about these things. You would only be curious about things that are natural to be curious about. Being curious about how far the sun is not a natural curiosity.
Well, what you tell me then, in your opinion, what is a natural curiosity?
Just natural things like you look.
I don't
over
know.
and you-
I don't know. I thought.
I'm explaining. Hold on, let me explain. I didn't get a
I
chance
thought
to
asking how
explain.
far the sun is
He's
would be a
explaining,
natural
he's giving
curiosity.
you an answer.
We see a light in the sky. We would wonder how far. Where is it? How did it get there? For me, that's a natural curiosity. Now, you tell me what you think is a natural curiosity.
No.
A natural curiosity is looking at a rose and smelling it and wondering how
Why?
that smell.
Why?
Because that's more of a natural thing. That's something that happens every day. That's something that you experience. When you look at the sun, you just see the sun. You see that it warms. You see that it grows food. It heats. Those are natural curiosities. But wondering how far it is, a question that you could never answer, and
But
no
how
matter
do you know
how
we
hard.
can't, how do you know we can't answer it? We see it. So because we see it, we must be able to measure it, right?
According. Go ahead, Arvin.
Sorry, but you see
No,
it.
take over.
Okay. You
No, I'm
see
saying
it. What? Was that sarcastic? Am I supposed
Yeah.
No, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying
Okay.
go ahead, you try.
All right. Well, you say you see it, but you don't know that it is anything other than something that just coincides with
So
the
what should I
daylight,
do? Not be
the
curious.
daylight that you can feel.
Should I not be curious about the sun then because I don't know what it is?
Of
No,
course
you
you
should be.
should, but you
No, I
shouldn't
think you should
jump
be.
to
According
conclusions.
to what's his name? I forget. According to James here, I should not be asking questions about the sun. This is not a natural.
No, that's not what he said. No, that's
Yes,
not what
that
he
is
laid
what he
out. Is
said.
that a false paradigm has been presented to you?
Let me just
And
get
that's
some
why you
clarity.
are wondering specifically about the distance
He's
because
saying
of
a
the
natural
false
person.
paradigm introduced.
So a
He's
natural
not telling
person-
you not to ask questions about it.
Did
So
you hear that?
I'm
Hold on,
confused
Spurs.
now.
Spurs. Did you hear what Arwen just said?
Well, he's saying that he didn't say that.
Yeah,
No,
I
he didn't.
disagree
Hold on,
with our-
hold on. He said he didn't say something specific. So he said it's not a natural curiosity to wonder specifically about how far. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I'm just saying his point being that if you've been told it has a distance, then you're going to naturally wonder about the distance. If you've never been told it's got a distance, then you may not naturally curiously go, I wonder how far that light in the sky is. That's Slick's point.
But
Yeah,
you
I
would
disagree.
wonder, James, you would wonder how far these lights in the sky are.
No.
Not really. Like
Yes.
take this.
Okay. No.
take-
I have to disagree because your example of smelling a rose, leads to possibly the question, I wonder if I could extract the essence of the rose and create a perfume. All we're talking about is a human being's natural inclination of investigation and development and creation. So I completely agree with Spurs, at least on this point.
I know. I don't want to say it myself, but I agree with Spurs as well. I think James has made a really bad point by saying it's not a natural question to ask. As children, you never stop asking questions about everything. So just making an excuse for the sun is a really bad argument, in my opinion. Continue.
Yeah.
No, I think he's.
I don't understand James' argument.
It's not
either.
the first question you're going to be asking as a kid.
Well, I do, but
What you're going to be asking is, what is it? That's the first question. Not what's the distance.
And as an adult, you shouldn't be saying we don't know what it is. And as an adult, you shouldn't be saying we don't know.
Out there,
hold on,
then you're
Owen.
going to be wondering about
Hold on.
the distance.
Hold on, Owen. Sorry, can you repeat that, Tommy?
As an adult, Alvin shouldn't be saying the words, we don't know what it is. We have no clue.
How dare you? How dare you?
We do have a good clue.
Sorry,
about it,
do
Nathan.
you know what the sun is? How arrogant, how unbelievably presumptuous. As
We
a
have
priest.
a very good understanding of the sun.
Oh, you do you? When did
We
you
do.
visit the sun, Tommy? Have you been there?
Well, no, I don't need to go there in order to know
So,
what it's like.
excuse me, I'll ask again. How the hell would you know?
How do I know? Solar panels work.
Sorry, you think that by telling me that solar panels work is equivalent to travelling to, say, a lighthouse or a piece of land that I can physically touch and encounter?
it's just-
You think, Tommy, I'm not finished berating you.
Well, wait, see if
You have
listen to
just
me.
told us it's unacceptable to say, I don't know. That's
Don't know nothing.
outrageous.
Don't know nothing about it. Nothing. We do know things about it.
Right.
What, like the distance?
No. That we know that it gives off photons and lights, and it can
That's
power
not what I
up,
asked.
solar panels.
That's not-
That's what we do know about it. It gives off
Sorry, that's not what I
radiation,
asked.
light,
Tommy,
heat.
yeah, that's not the question on the table, is it, Tommy? Try to pay attention. Do we know the distance? Because that's what we're talking about.
No, I made a point about Arwin saying he doesn't know nothing about it when we do know things about it. That was the point, Nathan.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's Arwin's side
don't.
point to the whole discussion point, which has been brought up by Slick. Specifically, we're told what the distance is. Now, that may not be a natural inquiry. I may not agree with Slick, but it's interesting to think if we hadn't been told that it's 96 million miles away, would we concern ourselves with how far it is? Maybe not.
The distance is a different question. That's not the point I made.
You're answering a supplementary point that's on the table.
No, Arwin says he knows nothing about the sun. I says we do know things about things, and you shouldn't be saying that as an adult.
No, you don't.
Sorry, again, how dare you?
Only thing you know
We're
is
not
what
allowed to-
sunlight does.
How
That's-
dare you? I'm not allowed to say, I don't know. You think you must trust what you've been told. You're a dangerous man, Tommy. Trust what
Not
the priests
really, not
tell
really,
you
no.
and just repeat it.
Nathan,
Because according to you, it's
Nathan,
unacceptable to
solar
not
panels
know.
work. Do solar panels work, Nathan?
Yeah, they do
Sorry,
because
that's a straw
of
man.
light hitting them.
My bad. You take over, Arwin.
Okay. Just kidding. Sorry.
Okay, Arwin, as an adult, you shouldn't be saying that you know nothing about the sun, because there's plenty of things we do know about the sun. It radiates, it gives off heat, it gives off light, it moves. You know, it changes position consistently throughout the day, every single day, and it powers up solar panels.
Position?
So we can
No,
extrapolate.
no,
We know that we can
no
absorb
position.
energy from the sun. We know we can.
You got it all wrong, dude.
Oh,
all you know
oh,
is
really?
the
Oh,
angular
really?
relation of the sun in relation to
Really?
the position of the Earth, and you know daylight comes from the epicenter where you see the apparent sun disk. You have no confirmation of physicality whatsoever.
Yeah. Does the sun give off heat, Arwin?
The sun, no.
So
No,
it doesn't
no.
get warm, no?
No,
When the sun's
you
in
know,
the air,
the
it doesn't
thing
get
is,
warmer outside.
there
Right.
really
Arwin,
is no
does
sun.
it get warm
There
outside
is
when
no
the sun is up?
object called the sun. There is only
Oh,
an
really?
inherent
Just a-
optical phenomena
but you live
that
in a
we
video
identify
game.
as the
You
sun.
live in the
And
reality
it's
world.
exactly where the daylight comes from.
God, you are
But it's not an
deluded.
object,
Deluded,
it's an
you are.
optical
You're a deluded
phenomena.
individual, Arwin.
I'm just
Optical
curious.
Phenomena. It's not an object.
You're deluded, Arwin. If you go outside and you're telling me that the sun does not warm up the weather outside, you are absolutely crazy.
Daylight does that, not the sun.
Daylight.
The sun is just
So
an apparent
All
phenomenon.
right, okay.
The epicenter
I'm not going to get
where
loud. I'm sorry
the
for getting
daylight
triggered. I'm
comes
sorry,
from.
but
It's not a
stupidity-
physical object.
Stupidity gets me angry.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Okay, right. Travis, go ahead.
I was just going to ask how Arwen has this specific knowledge of the epicenter being the source of daylight.
Not the epicenter of the direction of the daylight in
What does that
relation to
even?
the position
What does that
of
even
the Earth.
mean?
Well, daylight does come from the direction where we see the sun.
So
But
you're
the sun
calling...
itself is an optical phenomena. I don't think it's a physical.
Okay, but hold on. I'm just trying to understand the terminology. Really, I'm not trying to nitpick. You're basically calling the entirety of the sun the epicenter. Is that it? Not that the sun has an epicenter, but you're saying the epicenter of daylight is the sun.
Right.
Okay.
That's the exact direction where the daylight comes from in relation to the position of the Earth is where we see the apparent sun disk.
I was just trying to get clarification. Thank you.
How do you know that?
God. Comedy?
Because that's how it works. That's what we can perfectly deduce.
It's the sun, man. It's
What's
giving
your-
off heat.
Yeah, it's the sun. You
How
don't
did
know
you-
what it
how
is.
did you-
When you
how
go
did
to it,
you-
it changes its direction.
You
You
go get
can't
a
really
suntan?
approach it now, can you?
If you actually went outside, Arwin, you'd get a suntan.
What's your
Yeah,
independent
because I'm hit
variable?
by daylight.
A suntan.
Yeah, I know, that's a word. It's a word for a phenomena when people sit in the daylight.
Have you
and
ever got a
the
moon tan?
daylight heats
Have you
them
ever
up
got
in
a
their
moon
chemical
tan?
exchanges.
Have you
Yeah,
ever got
daylight.
a moon tan?
It's
Have you got a
daylight.
night? Have you ever got a night tan?
Well, moonlight does actually have influence on you, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's actually not very healthy.
How can you control the independent variable of the sun? Do you move the sun around? Do you wiggle the sun? Is that how you figured it out?
I'm not claiming a scientific hypothesis.
Oh,
Can I
I'm just
clarify a point?
dispelling any physicality assumption bias, which is highly,
Physicality assumption.
very,
bias. I do not have a
very
bias. It's
heavily
just evidently.
indoctrinated into human thinking.
Oh, I'm indoctrinated, and you're a free-thinking Superman that knows everything. Yeah,
forgive me. I
Guys,
thought you were.
I didn't say
were
that.
you're the only person who has a mind of their own who can think for themselves, Arwin. You're so special, Arwin.
Can I clear something up just to get this back on track? I just
Yes,
want to make
please.
something clear.
Go ahead,
All
Steve.
right. Our eyes are designed to be able to function in our environment. Just like when you're crossing the street and you see a bus coming, your eyes are designed to give you the perception to know not to step out in front of it. In other words, you don't have to know exactly what the feet and distance is of the bus to not step out in front of it. Your eyes and brain automatically calculate that. Now, it's the same when you look at the sun. When you look at the sun, your eyes are designed to process that distance internally. You're not really asking, well, how far, how many feet, how many, you know. All you need to do is to see how it affects your perception so that you can have a world view. So that's what I mean about not being curious about the exact distance. It's the same when you look at the stars. When you look at the stars, you don't need to know that they're trillions of miles away or 3 miles away. They're designed with your eyes and brain to give you a perception of your surroundings.
Can I make a
I got an
comment?
opinion. Hey, Jose J.G. Gonzalez over here. I got an opinion on the distance to the sun. My answer is, I don't know the distance to the sun. I have no idea, but I got an open hangout running probably daily, and everybody is welcome. No mute button, all welcome. Shout out to Slick Piece in 2 episodes ago. Thank you. Bye.
That's what Joyce.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah,
I think Nathan said, he said earlier, to kind of rewind back to what we were saying earlier. A concrete noun is I see something. I see a flower on my table over there, to kind of steal from Brenda. I'm not going to get into, I agree with her, but I'm going to use some of her thinking, I think, that she's trying to get to. And I think this whole discussion is revolving around this. I see a flower on my table. Now, the nature of that flower is in question. You could say I could see a flower. I see the sun. I don't know the nature of the sun, but I see the sun. Now, the discussion is going on, what is the nature of the sun?
Mm-hmm.
And I think measurement is trying to give us the nature of the sun. What is it? Can we go there and touch it? Can we measure it? What is it? But the thing is, we can't do that. I can't go there, you can't go there, nobody can go there. So we don't know the nature of the sun, and that's Erwin's point. You can't.
Yeah.
There's arguments for that. So, but we can say the sun is there. That's what Nathan is saying. It's a noun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree with that as well. We can say it's there, but Nathan's saying, I mean, what is it? Armin said, you said we can't go there. I mean, yeah, we can't technically go there at the moment, but.
Oh, really? No, but you can't approach it either.
Could you burn up?
No. If you go up in our atmosphere and actually try to approach it, I'd like to see you try, because it's gonna bend away. You can never approach it.
Okay, a bit like the rainbows, yeah? Where you chase a rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the heavenly bodies, just like the astronauts, without realizing what to do with it, didn't see any stars up there.
Okay, but I mean, we only see rainbows when the water has affected it, right? We see the sun 24 hours like around the globe, around the before the globe, before you get triggered.
Really? We see it 24 hours around the globe?
Yes, you can always. I can phone somebody on the other side of the planet.
I'm pretty sure it's
Relax, Arwin. Relax. You got a mobile device now, right? You have a mobile device. You can phone someone on the other side of the planet, and you can get them to confirm what they see in the sky. Yes, the sun can be tracked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Right, but it's never.
It's always trackable. It's always trackable.
It's ridiculous.
So what, just to get somewhere, hopefully, what does any of this prove exactly?
I'm just saying we can always see it. He's going, no, we don't. We can't. I'm saying we can track.
Well, go up high enough and see it. See it all the time. It should be there all the time if you're high up enough.
The highest I can go is probably in a commercial air flight. That's about it.
Sorry, my point is we're arguing about nothing. What does this prove? What's the point in arguing about it other than arguing about what's obviously and observably there and you can see it?
I think a rainbow is different to the sun. I think him trying to say that the sun acts like a rainbow, I don't agree. Because rainbow you can only see with rain.
High enough, you should always see the sun.
You're rumpusing the hell out of him. So what you're trying to prove is that the sun is real. That's what you're trying to prove, is it, Tommy?
I'm just saying that a rainbow can only be seen in the rain, whereas a sun can always be confirmed. So I'd say, yeah, there's something very different between a rainbow and the sun.
Sorry, who gives a shit?
Arwin, obviously, Arwin.
Sorry, what does this prove? Who cares? What are you going to do? Argue about what your favourite film is next? Who cares?
Okay, that's a good point. I don't really care that much myself. It's Arwin that has a problem with the sun. He doesn't want to accept it.
Okay,
no.
What is
summarise? Hold on. Right,
that's
not Arwin's point. Arwin's point is you haven't got the first clue what it is. You don't know.
We do have clues about it, Nathan. It gives off heat.
Tommy, I was in the middle of a sentence. Just shut up. His point is that you don't know what it is. You've not been there. Now, as much as you can tell me that you can infer things and you can experience things and then tell me about the bloody obvious, it doesn't change his point. You don't know what it is. You don't know that it's physical. That's it. Shout out to Rune Thornton for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support.
Okay, we have a very good idea what it is.
All right, Brummy, stop trolling.
We have a very good idea what it is. It's just the truth. I'm not going to say I don't know what it is.
It's a concept.
It's a concept. So whatever.
Right, but I am pretty convinced from all my observations that the sun is not literally a physical object. Neither is the moon. That they're holographic in nature, light-based, not physically, literally anywhere.
You don't even believe in the sun.
And with the sun, it's just happens.
Why do you think people go on holiday?
Of where the daylight is.
You don't even think it gives off heat. You're in another dimension.
It's not giving off any heat. The only
of course, it gives off heat.
The only heat being freaking received is from the daylight hitting you. Okay, the daylight hitting you is what heats you up.
No muting people. Arwen, no, don't mute him. Like if he causes too much rumpusing, which you're doing too, then you just have to put up with it. Don't mute each other.
I brought out my point, and now I'm done. I didn't want that to last 2 minutes.
I think what's happening here is that you're getting into a discussion, and it's all a discussion of speculation. Whenever you have a viewpoint, or this is what I think, or this is what I feel, these things are nothing but speculation. Now, what you can be sure of as a fact is that we experience the sun. Now, that's a fact. Now, that's something where that gives you a starting point. Now, if you can't come up with any facts after that, then you just have to do with the fact that you can experience the sun, and that's it. I think what happens is, because of the education thing that I was talking about earlier, people want to question things that they can't answer, because we live in a observe and declare reality, where we observe something and then we make a declaration. We see a boat disappear in a distance and we declare that it went over the horizon. See, these are things that are taught to us. If we were never taught these things, we would see a boat disappear and we would just say to ourselves, the boat disappeared. It went out of view. It went out of range.
I see where you go with it, James.
Yes.
I see where you go with it. But I mean, we can also test things that people tell us. If somebody tells me something, I can then go and, do further investigations and determine whether that's true or a lie. But if Arwen's saying that the sun doesn't give off heat, when clearly it does, it warms up the day, it gives you suntans, we can do things with the sun, like solar panels, so we know that we can, there's some correlation there. Now,
but these things are
to deny that is just crazy.
No, hold on. Before you guys get into that, these things are obvious. This is not something that's really up for debate or a conversation. What the sun does is obvious. It's not something that you have to speculate about.
Yeah. Okay. So
No, I disagree with that. It is not. The ground has not been well defined here.
there's something more impressive. Something more important.
It's daylight. Every time heat, electricity, it's always the light hitting it. That's what's actually provably there. The sun, as some kind of lamp, cannot be proven to heat up anything. And yeah, I know. If you have a lamp, it can get pretty hot. If you have your hand close to it, you feel that heat.
So,
But
yesterday,
you don't have something like that with the sun. You just have the daylight hitting.
let's not argue. Let's.
No, but this is an important detail. You shouldn't overlook this.
Arwen, the sun gives off heat, whether you like it or not.
No, you have no proof of this.
Go and get a tan.
Yeah, it's daylight hitting you.
You go and get
It's
a tan at
daylight
night.
hitting you. Not
where does the daylight come from?
It's the
All right,
daylight hitting you.
Let's not argue. But where does the daylight come from, Arwen?
Really childish.
Comes from the sun.
Okay, well there we go. The sun gives
Yeah,
off
but
heat.
the sun itself doesn't
The sun
give off
gives
any
off
heat.
heat. The sun gives you a
It doesn't
suntan.
radiate any heat like a lamp.
The sun
locally.
gives you a suntan.
It's the sunlight
can
hitting
cook
you that's
food with
actually giving the heat.
Sunlight.
If you go to the desert, you can cook an egg on the rock.
Right, from all the daylight being absorbed by the rock.
Yeah, daylight, heat, radiation. What can power solar panels? All from the sun.
Radiation actually
From
starts
the
from
sun.
the center point where it comes from and then decreases over distance. So where is that measured heat radiation from the sun?
We would have to agree
It's
to
too
disagree.
far away
We'd
anyway.
have
It
to-
doesn't
we'd
make
have to
any
agree.
damn sense.
You can be in your crazy little fantasy world, and I
It's
can be
not
in
a
the reality.
fantasy world.
You're
You're
in a
in
fantasy.
the fantasy world here by making all these assumptions about how it radiates heat like a lamp. And you have no proof that it does. You just have the daylight hitting you and heating you up. It's the
Is
daylight.
there a sun in the dark world?
Stop arguing, Arwen.
No,
You're
there
wrong.
isn't.
Simple as that.
So yesterday, Bob released a video addressing the claims of science, the scientific method, and it appears that Bob is standing by the understanding that this gyroscope is a scientific experiment. I kind of have to disagree with Bob from Globusters. I could be wrong, Bob. If you can show why it's science, where you've manipulated the natural and physical world, where you see the phenomenon in the natural and physical world, I'm still open to that. But as it stands at the moment, you have a device, you have a man-made device, and you see an observation, you see something, yes? The cause of that, the cause would be you. I mean, without you or the builder, Bob the builder, not that you built it, but what science is trying to, this is how I imagine it, Bob. Let's try, this is, if I were to speak to you, I would say, what would you be more interested in, Bob? Let's say you have two buildings, two identical buildings. One built by Bob the builder, like a builder, and we have an identical building with bricks, windows, doors, an elevator, a lift, built naturally. Yes, naturally built just by nature. Two buildings. Which one do you think, or which one do you suppose would science have to try and explain? Or where is the explanation? What, you know, and this is how I understand it. Again, I could be wrong. If you know, if Bob, you know, you want to address where, you know, because I don't want to just be to.
Oh, what's happened?
Bob said Nathan proved Einstein right.
What's going on? Is someone still debating?
I thought I disconnected or got kicked.
No,
Just he being retarded.
probably
No,
Spurs. Spurs is still there.
Spurs dropped in the middle of his sentence, which is why I think it threw everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that
Problem.
was funny
I've
how
never-
Bob connected Nathan to Einstein and Ball Earth trolls and all that. It was pretty good video. Enjoyed that one.
I actually hate myself for agreeing with anything that Spurs has ever said.
Yeah, I think what happens is people get too caught up in speculation a lot, and that all comes from our education because we are taught right from birth.
Mate, I'm not indoctrinated.
I'm
I
sorry.
know, but we're not. I'm not indoctrinated. When you know, I find you always come along. You keep saying this.
Sorry there.
Okay.
I think I got cut off. What was
We
the
all
answer?
James,
are indoctrinated.
no,
but
no,
I don't think James has read a book about it.
I can give you an example of indoctrination if you want, and we can test
What if-
your indoctrination if you like.
What if I say education? Would that be better?
No, because like you're just trying to say that I'm indoctrinated, and it's not come from that.
Okay,
It
let me
is.
explain.
He's right
Let me
about
explain.
that, but I don't think he
It's
knows
not-
what he's talking about.
Let me-
Because
Can I explain-
religion is indoctrination, and so is the
Can
fact
I-
that you eat animals, and that is indoctrination. also.
Education is indoctrination, dude.
Can I
Eating dead
explain?
animal. Well, you know, not really, because I know what you're saying. But go on.
Okay, what I'm saying by indoctrination. What
Sorry,
indoctrination?
I dropped out. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
You'll have
What
to wait your turn
indoctrin-
now, though, Spurs. Sorry. Go ahead, Slip.
Yeah, 'cause I was just talking about Bob's video when he brought up about what science is.
Sure, we will come back to it, Spurs, I promise. But just
okay.
just because there's a whole
What-
new conversation that started in the time you dropped. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
James, you keep saying indoctrination.
Let me
We're not
finish.
indoctrinated.
Would you let me explain?
You made us
What-
aware of it. It's not true. Go on. Sorry.
Just let him,
Okay.
Tommy. Just give him, at least a few breaths.
What indoctrination is information that you are not allowed to question. See, so when you're taught in school, you're not taught to think about what you're being taught. You're taught to absorb what you're being taught and commit it to memory. That's indoctrination. When I say indoctrination, I mean that. Education is where you get to question and where you get to input your own, thoughts on what's being taught. So when I say indoctrination, that's what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You're saying dogma.
But you keep accusing people of being indoctrination when they're not. I'm not in. You making me aware of
We're all
that
indoctrinated.
possibility. You making me aware
Everyone
of
is
that.
indoctrinated.
Okay,
and,
talk over
and
me then.
information you can't question. That's called dogma, not indoctrination.
Okay,
We're all
now it's my turn to talk, right? So,
Yes.
you have made me aware of the possibility of me being indoctrinated, so I can see what you're saying, and I can then test myself to see if I am.
Sure.
Okay, so what you have done is you've uncovered the possibility of my brainwashing. I've now objectively looked at that and realized, I'm not indoctrinated. Now I can accuse you of indoctrination, right? You're indoctrinated because you think there is nothing wrong with eating animals that have been slaughtered, right?
Do I think there's anything wrong? What do you mean? Do I think?
Hold
Wait a
on one
minute.
second.
What do you-
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just say hello to Overthought?
All right, mate. Hello.
Good to
All
have
right,
you.
mate.
Hello. Sorry, carry on.
Now let's test your indoctrination.
Okay,
Or
you're
do
at-
you
what-
think it's okay to eat dead animals?
What
Well,
does
that's
this have
the
to do with indoctrination?
Well,
yeah.
you don't think it's indoctrination for a start.
Yeah,
So
but
there's
what's that
one
to do
thing.
with the flat Earth then?
Well,
What's that to do with
I'm just
taking it?
testing. He wants to
Of
keep.
course
he
it's
wants to
not. I read about indoctrination, you twat. You read a book. You just conjecture bullshit with you. What the
Okay.
fuck's wrong with you?
So do you want to learn?
No swearing,
No,
please.
you are talking nonsense, Tommy.
No swearing.
No,
People-
you want to talk about indoctrination? I'll
That's
give you an
a
example of
choice.
the indoctrination and see how you respond. That four-eyed git, whatever his name is just like instantly refused to listen to it.
You don't
So
have to be rude.
forget about
Sorry.
him.
Well, I can answer your question if you want.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to eating meat, what happens is at some point in your life, you're fed meat. And if your body doesn't reject the meat and you resonate with it and it tastes pretty good to you, then you eat meat. It's not an indoctrination. It's just a matter of it didn't buy. You didn't throw it up when you ate it.
It's also a matter of introduction. If you're not taught to eat meat in your family where you grew up with, then you're much less inclined to actually like it later on in life.
That you could speculate that, but
that's
there's
pretty
no way
statistical thing.
I don't know how you could
Many
test that.
vegans, like people that I've met vegans
I've been a
that have
vegan.
been raised vegan and they just can't tolerate
I
it
was
at
a
all.
I was a vegan for 15 years, so I have no problem understanding vegan.
Vegan is read Agenda 21. They want us to not eat meat in the future. They're going to invent some climate change, carbon tax bull crap.
Invented, it's already being pushed.
They're going to make it so meat is so expensive with this tax we won't be able to afford it. Just like back in the day when the king, only the king and the aristocrats could afford meat and the peasant class couldn't afford meat. They're getting back to that because food is a weapon that the elites use against us. They want us to be unhealthy and die more, so they don't want us to eat good, healthy meat.
But how does that relate to being educated and indoctrination with knowledge and information that we have no way of verifying? That has nothing really to do with that. I'm talking about knowledge that you're taught that you just can't, like the stars.
That's dogma, dude. You're talking about dogma, dude. That's dogma.
Right. Well, same thing. Whatever word you want to use, it's the same thing. It's just like the stars. If you're taught that the stars are quadrillions of miles away, that's indoctrination because you don't get to question that. All you have to do is accept it. So that's what, that's the whole thing. You got to be careful of the examples and the analogies that you try to use to, because meat eating has nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Sorry to interrupt. So I just want to say hello to a couple of new guests. Lorenzo, how are you doing?
Lorenzo.
Hi.
Hello, good to have you. And Physics Warrior, good to have you.
He's just muted himself.
But
I think.
There is a bit of a small difference.
You do it every time. The second someone comes off mute, you start talking. I just want to hear him talk. Hey, Physics Warrior, how are you doing?
Hey, Nathan.
Good to have you.
Excellent.
Sorry, as you were, Owen, my bad.
All right. Right.
Okay, so let's can we have a look at the most important thing in flat Earth right now, which is science. Okay, we have two leading, people in the community who have a dispute over what science is and isn't. We need to understand this, okay? Because we don't want divisions. We need a coming together, obviously, because we have the whole world against us. So. For me, I don't know where I was cut off, what was heard, what was said. I was trying to describe natural phenomenon versus man-made phenomenon. And I'll give my example again if it wasn't heard. So my idea is, to Bob, if you're listening, if I'm wrong, please explain, correct me if I'm wrong. We have two identical buildings. One is built by man, a builder. We see how it's built. We have another building, identical, built naturally. It has windows, it has doors, elevator, everything and so on. Which of those two buildings will we try to explain? Or would we try to explain? For me, we would try to explain the natural phenomena. How did this building build itself? How did it create itself? Obviously, we know the cause of the building built by the builder. Yeah. So for me, when we see a device that Bob is using to see a phenomena, the question is this a scientific experiment? So Nathan, did you happen to see the video that Bob posted?
I did, yeah. There was lots of trolls that replayed it.
Okay, and what's your opinion? Do you because I actually happen to, until further notice, I agree with what you're saying. Is that and it's not even what you're saying. This is what science says, right? This is people have taken it like, oh, this is Nathan's thing, but for me, this has been known. It's always been known, but it hasn't been taught.
It's quantum eraser thing Nathan stole from.
Well, for me, it's always been there, PMARS, but it hasn't been taught. You spoke about indoctrination. This hasn't been taught to people about this method, so people now today are confused about exactly what science is. Maybe. So, Nathan, I mean, do you still stand by what you say? Is Bob correct when he says it is an experiment?
Well, if Bob is claiming that the Sagnac experiment is a scientific experiment, then he needs to provide the hypothesis. An experiment is a hypothesis test, and a hypothesis establishes the cause of an effect. So there's only really two things that Bob needs to provide in order to validate that it's at the very least a hypothesis-driven experiment, and that would be the independent variable, presumed cause, thing you will vary and manipulate in the test, and dependent variable, the observed phenomenon. In this instance, you've already pointed out, it's a man-made device. So that's what you would need to provide, the independent and dependent variable in the hypothesis. Simple. If he hasn't provided those things, which he never will, he cannot, and I'm not going to pass my personal opinion on it. I've already expressed. Nothing's changed, no. Do I stand by what I said? Well, what I said was to parrot the scientific method. It's a fairly straightforward method. It's simply a method of inquiry. And my main point, my overriding point, was that method of inquiry is an empirical result at the end. You validate or invalidate your hypothesis, otherwise known as a scientific prediction. Now that's it. You've got an empirical method. Now, that's useful if you have something that doesn't give you an empirical result, but you want to assert something at the end of it. For example, Earth turn, ether spin, whatever. If you want to assert something with an inconclusive result, it's very useful to use the scientific terminology because it, as John puts it, greases the skids for your claim. Well, I'm not interested in those sorts of claims when you have an empirical method. You just have to adhere to it and you can have an empirical result at the end of it. You'll either validate or invalidate your hypothesis. So that's what I'd need from Bob. If he's going to claim he's got an experiment, in other words, he's doubling down on his claim that it is scientifically valid, then you need to provide the independent and dependent variable. That's it. So the other day on Ballbusters, we charged the same thing at Sly. Go over to Sly Sparkane's video. Apparently he's got an experiment. Ask him for the independent and dependent variable. What is the observed phenomena? What is the presumed cause of the effect? So, point us at the phenomenon that you are actually exploring and tell us what you think is the cause of that. That would be a hypothesis. Now, if you can provide that to me, we could then go away and replicate the hypothesis, right? That's what it's all about. Science, systematic experimentation, repeatability. Well, give us the hypothesis and we'll do it for you, Bob. We'll check it out. We'll check how valid it is when we put your hypothesis through an experimentation stage. So you don't need to just trust your results. If we've got the hypothesis, anybody could replicate it. That's part of the scientific method also, isn't it? That repeatability aspect, that systematic experimentation, not one man and your declaration. So if you have a valid scientific experiment, just give us the hypothesis and we'll validate it also. We'll back you. We'll also conduct rigorous experiments to test if you have the presumed cause of the effect correct or not. And we will validate or invalidate the hypothesis with, guess what? An experiment. But first we need the scientific prediction, the hypothesis, the constituent parts being, and this is what should be requested of anybody who claims to have science, ask them for these two things: your independent variable, presumed cause of the effect, and your dependent variable, the actual phenomenon that you are looking at. That's a hypothesis. Give it to anybody and they can do the same. They can follow the same routine of experimentation. They might set it up in a slightly different manner, But so long as they're varying and manipulating the presumed cause of the effect and causing the effect, then they've got a valid hypothesis. They've verified the cause.
Now, try to clear. I mean, again, this is for the benefit of the people who say things like, "This is Nathan's version of events." Just touch upon how it's a known international. It's for everybody. We can research this. This is not something that you have just made up, thought of. I think this is what people's problem is. They're saying, "Oh, this is Nathan's idea. He's defining what science is," and I'm like, well, no. Obviously, you research this. You would look at peer-reviewed papers. You would look at articles. You would look at scientists. You would look at universities and various places to gather information. So I think they want to know where you're getting this from, Nathan.
Where I'm getting what from? The scientific method? It's just a method.
They're saying that they could say, well, I Googled the scientific method. It might not say what you're saying. Basically, I'm just trying to find out, or just want you to clear up, basically. They say this is your method, right? This is not what science is. So just touch upon where you're getting this from, or where we have this understanding, if you understand.
From high school, incorrect when you asserted earlier that we haven't been taught this. Yes, we have. Mm-hmm. We were all taught it in high school. So yes, I was taught it in high school. You were taught it in high school. Everybody on the panel was taught the scientific method in high school. Why did they teach us in high school? Well, because if you're teaching children that it's empirical and proves things, that's pretty useful. Because later on you can tell them something that's not valid, but just call it science. And the magic begins, doesn't it? Well, if somebody claims science, Spurs, all I'm going to say is science is a method. Let's see if you've adhered to it. That's all I'm doing. Nothing to do with me. It's like,
I know this. But I'm saying that how do we as a collective agree that this is just a general method that everybody should follow? The people out there, they're saying, well, I'm not, I don't want to. It seems like a competition. It's
I'll
not
say it again, Spurs. You didn't listen.
No, I did. I'm just saying, reiterate.
Nobody has to follow this method. Did this last time, right? If you claim that you are performing an experiment, well, then let's have a little look at what an experiment is. Oh, what do you know? It's a hypothesis test. Now you're saying, where are you getting this from? Well,
no, I'm not asking you. I'm saying because remember, the people out there are saying, well, this seems to be Nathan's thing. And I'm saying, well, it's not. This is what we've all learned in school. Either they didn't teach it, or you missed it, or something happened where you're not aware. Because for me, I don't understand why people don't understand today science. They're confused. So I'm just saying to you just to say, like you've just said it already. So I'm just saying you should say, well, this is not my version of science. This is for everybody. So that's basically what it is. Because I find
I'll say it, Spurs. This is not my version of science. This is science.
Right. Okay. Fine. Okay. Because people are constantly saying to me that's why I'm just, so...
Sure. The point, Spurs, is that it's down to who makes the claim. So it doesn't matter if I'm a bin man or a grocery delivery boy. It doesn't matter, because I'm not claiming to have scientifically validated anything, have I? However, that doesn't mean that when somebody comes along and says that they have science the shit out of it, I can say, really? Well, let's have a little look then. Have you followed the scientific method, or haven't you? Now, that's not me making a claim. It's me asking somebody who's making a claim, in this case, Bob Nodell, have you why do I keep getting somebody interrupt me? Have you or have you not adhered to the very method you claim to be using when you use the word experiment? If you're performing a hypothesis test, give me the hypothesis. That's all I've done. I did it on his show. And when I did, at the time, he laughed. Bob laughed. Ha ha ha! I see what you've done there. Really? Well, clearly not. Because what I did was ask him for his validity and adherence to the scientific method. And his response was to laugh and tell me he saw what I'd done there, like it was a gotcha. Have you got science? No, I haven't. Ha ha ha. See what you did there? No, Bob, that's a massive problem, because you're claiming science. I'm not claiming science. Nobody in my audience is expecting me to provide scientific validity to anything I've claimed. I'm not claiming it. You, Bob Nodell, are claiming science. You've made it very clear in your latest video. You've definitely got an experiment. Well, that would be a hypothesis test. So let's have the independent and dependent variables, please. And if you can't provide them, you're just declaring your faith. And I'm tired of this, to be perfectly honest. This nonsense. In private, I've said before now, and I'll say it publicly before I round this live section of the show out. I am tired of this. The people who are using the same tactics and the same declare, or how did you phrase it, Slick? Observe and declare. Those people are no better than the people who've tricked us into believing we live on a spinning ball. Now, they can keep well away from me because I'm sick of them. They become the new priesthood if we all get behind them. And woe betide anybody who disagrees with them, because you'll be kicked out. You'll be an outcast if you say no. I don't think this is correct, like I've done. So let me serve as a little lesson to anybody watching who thinks they need to defend Bob Nodell. If you defy him, he will cast you out, as demonstrated. Why? Because he's observed and declared, and I've said no. This is not science. Funny, when he first had it put to him, now it seems super serious. You have to ask yourself, why was it given the hand wave dismissal when I told it to his face? And why was it made out to be some sort of gotcha when it's the very point of how we've been deceived into thinking we're on a ball? That's the point. They just declare having made observation. That's the trick they've used. Now, if I'm not the one to point out to the new priesthood that's simply going with the old rhetoric, cherry-picking what they called science, well, that's not me doing myself a service that I could live with. I sleep very well. This only bothers me because in reality, I've got to make a living. And Bob's decided to take a dump on that amongst his ad hominems because he thinks I'm a grocery delivery boy, which I haven't done for about 2 years. I'm a YouTuber and depend on this now to make my living. But Bob, who's about to piss off, leave you all in the dirt apparently, because this is a sinking ship, according to Bob Nodell, because you won't dictate what he dictates as reality, then fine. Take a crap on my income. I'd prefer you just buggered off and don't come back. But this should be a lesson. Either accept what the priest tells you, or realise that anybody who doesn't accept what the priest tells you is an outcast. What, like flat earthers were in 2015? What, you don't believe we're on a spinning ball? Go into the wilderness, outcast. Well, what about me? Oh, I don't think this is science. Ha ha, you got me there. Get the fuck out of F-Key Core. How dare you give this man super chat? He's a grocery delivery boy. That's what you get if you defy a priest. So, let me serve as a lesson to anybody who feels like defying one of these priests, because I have been treated very poorly by one of the new priests of flat earthism, and I'm tolerating it no more. Fucktards on the right, keep your pseudoscience and your fuckwittery, because you can have it. Just don't tell me about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it. I don't need your pseudoscience and your declarations and your ad hominems when someone disagrees with you. That's for the old school. That's for the wankers of the past. We're moving on. The people on this side of the fence, the people that will be charging no one with error if they admit they're wrong, which is what I'm prepared to do now. I was prepared to do it a week ago. I was prepared to do it 6 months ago when I recognised that Bob's basic ignorance of science has left him in a position where now, this moment, somebody is watching Bob on Netflix tell them he's proven the earth spins with science. And will he relinquish the science? No. It's too beautiful a magic word for Bob to relinquish. So he's going to take me down with his sinking ship while declaring that I'm backing ballers, even though I've gone on his show and given him an absolute concrete debunking of the ring laser gyro proving the earth spins. It does not, optical gyro. It doesn't. There's not two separate reference frames. We have no Coriolis. Planes don't take a vastly shortened distance one way to the other. So I've debunked that. But yet Bob, who's now become dangerous, is telling his vast audience that I'm proving Earth turns. Pure projection. While the man literally, at this very moment, is on a television programme on Netflix literally doing that. Proving the Earth spins with his quote-unquote science. Which it isn't. It's pseudoscience. It doesn't establish the cause of an effect. It doesn't have a valid independent and dependent variable. He'll never provide that to you, but he doesn't want to relinquish it. Because like the power-hungry monsters that told us we're on a ball, Bob's got the same magic, hasn't he? Science proves the ether, and everyone nods. Oh yeah, because you all know, Spurs included, because you were all told in school that science proves things. So when Bob says he's got an experiment, you intrinsically know, don't you, that he's proven this. Well, no, that's where I come in. No, he hasn't proven it. Hasn't proven the earth spins, hasn't proven there's an ether, hasn't established anything with any scientific validity at all. But yet here we are, with the audience being told that I'm a bad person for having been a delivery boy about 2 years ago. Yeah, like that's relevant to the subject. Another logical fallacy, ad hominem. Why? But yet I'm damn sure I'm going to continue to be charged with divisive nature simply for pointing out that a priest's wrong. Like I've done with the Globers, no different, exactly the same. But yet everyone praises me when I'm doing it to globeheads. Yet you challenge one of our side's priests, off with his head. Outcast. Don't give him super chats. Shout out to Red Pill Philosophy. Yeah, that's what you get. Cut his money off immediately. Let his child starve. Because why? I've declared and you now are challenging my declaration. Well, I'm challenging it based on its adherence to the method. And it doesn't have any.
It was really obvious that he just got upset at what you had to say on the show, and then he used this as an opportunity to deflect all the heat he's getting from the documentary onto you. And it was really disingenuous for him to insult you the way he did, because he had you as a featured guest on his show. So if he really believed all those things he was saying, like what happened? Why would he even have you as a guest? It just shows he's a fake person, I think.
Too Funk to Drink. Shout out to Too Funk to Drink. Amen, Nathan. Shout out to Colin Turner for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. If you are watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, wow, loads of super chats coming in. 777, thank you very much for the super chat. And Flat Earth Moon Bear, thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, so I've lost entirely where I am. If you are watching this on Nathan Oakley channel, this is where we bid you farewell. Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Yeah, so the live audience, wherever the hell you are, massive thank you for watching, and stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley channel, as there'll be an after show. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and keep up to date with the community Flat Earth debate on the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in another super chat from Paul Russon. Smash the super chat. Just see through the glare. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Registry.
All right.
I think, like I said, it goes back to that mentality, and it's just like a lot of people on flat Earth have not shaken the globe mentality. So you can't see flat Earth through a globe mentality. It'll just never happen. It's impossible. You have to get rid of that and then look. So what Bob kind of, was a victim of is that he's trying to be in the flat Earth, but still using a globe mentality, and that's what happened.
I mean, I said this originally, and I said this even on the show a while back. I think if that whole show could have gone better, and it actually ended up being a good show without Nathan having to drop or being dropped or whatever, I think it could have gone in a very different direction, And then the drama is actually creating more drama, and it's just sad because it could be if we had a good. I mean, that's one thing I try to echo when I'm on this show. Instead of being trying not to be triggered, just having a conversation, trying to interact with each other, trying to understand what each other's saying. If that could have happened across the board, I think it would have been a very different outcome. And the sad thing is we all at some point get triggered over something. We can stop that at some level, try to listen, try to understand, try to echo what we think we're hearing. I think this whole dialogue, this whole conversation could change. But it doesn't seem like really, in a lot of ways, nobody wants that. And I think there's some people do, but it just, I don't know. It's just frustrating to me. I'm in here trying to echo what I think, how it should happen.
Are we going back live, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm setting up the second show now.
Speaking of indoctrination, I think we're indoctrinated to act like children and argue online.
Well, it's certainly being encouraged.
Do you know, when that show was happening, it almost sounded like Morgile wanted to agree with Nathan, but didn't want to fall out with Bob. I think the reason why Bob took it so probably personally or whatever is because Nathan embarrassed him live on air. I think it's a bit of embarrassment. He was like, you're wrong, you're not right. So Bob didn't have a chance to recover because he was just like, okay, so I think,
you mean things got real.
Their own show.
Yeah, things got real, mate.
Yeah,
possibly. But Bob took it a bit personally. Probably was,
because he can't do it.
What?
Well, nobody wants to be told they're wrong on their own show. I mean,
I know, and that's what I think. I think
it's
this
a
is
human ego thing. I mean, nobody wants to be told they're wrong on their own show, whether they're wrong or not.
Exactly.
You're not going to take it.
I don't mind as long as the one making the claim is actually right.
I think that's what should be the most important thing in this discussion. Try to get to the truth and don't be triggered. That's why I'm trying to say, don't get triggered, even if it's your own show. Don't get triggered. You have to truth.
But the thing is, Nathan wasn't really there to make him wrong on his own show. Nathan was there to help him out of the disaster that he built. See, that's a big difference, If Bob hadn't done that to himself, then Nathan wouldn't have even had to go on the show with that in the first place. See, so what Bob really should have done was understood the fact that he was the one that created this monster. So, he forgot that.
I think that, sorry, P-Mars, that's quick. I think that's that's why I said to Nathan to clear up that it's not, I mean, I know it's not Nathan's thing, but if Nathan puts it out there, this is not my thing, this is for everybody, this is what we learn in school, then, people like Bob can't use that argument, oh, Nathan is using his version of science to justify. So if this is for everybody, Bob has to retract, I think, soon. Hopefully he will. I don't think we should really fall.
You cut off again, Spurs.
Yeah, you've gone Spurs.
I was gonna say, like, the thing with Bob, I think a lot of YouTube content creators, personalities, they don't They have this. They want to keep up this illusion that they're always right, and he doesn't want to admit he's wrong about anything. I had the same problem with Vegan Warrior. I proved Vegan Warrior wrong about a logic thing. Vegan Warrior said that you can't prove a negative, and that's not true. And I demonstrated he was wrong, and he couldn't admit it on his panel. Some people just can't admit they're wrong. Well, and that's prevalent on YouTube. Like, they want this illusion to their audience that they're always right.
Yeah, it's not you can't
shows
prove
the
a
nature.
negative. It's you can't disprove non-existence. So if I say to you, P,
Oh my God, you're gonna admit you're wrong about this now?
no, I'm
You
gonna
did
say,
it to yourself, P.
Oh,
What do you
that
mean
was-
I did
that
to
was a
myself?
short attempt. No worries.
I can prove a negative right now.
No, that's not what I said. Right, you
Okay.
can't disprove non-existence. So if I say unicorns aren't real, disprove it right now. How are you going to go about disproving that non-existent thing? It's impossible.
Yeah, that's not what I was saying though.
Yeah, I understand you're saying that what Vegan Warrior has said is you can't prove a negative, which is totally incorrect, and you've pointed that out,
Right.
and you were correct. He was wrong, but he wouldn't admit it. That's what your point is, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, but I was just kind of correcting Vegan Warrior, even though he's not here. I wasn't having a go at you.
Right. You're talking about basically Russell's teapot, which is like the burden of proof is on the person making an unfalsifiable claim. Or I don't know. Wait, I got that wrong. Never mind.
Well, yeah, that was pretty close. I'd not heard that one before, but yeah, that was pretty close.
That's like kind of another way of saying it. Yeah,
Yeah, I say you can't disprove non-existence, but wherever floats your boat. Hey,
his thing was like,
hold on one sec, P.
If you-
Hold on, FE
Hello.
Equilibrium.
Hey,
How you
it's
doing?
Flat Earth.
Oh, hey, that's fine.
Flat Earth. Hi.
Hey, Flatner.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
doing well. Thanks. I wanted a ball earther perspective, but PMARS, you won't give an honest perspective on whether Bob is right or wrong, you know. So we need to hear, if Bob thinks it's still science, if you agree with that, PMARS, is it science?
oh yeah. I mean, I guess on this particular issue, I agree that Bob is right about. I think Nathan's definition of science is like whack. So yeah.
So you think this is Nathan's version of science?
Oh yeah. Well, quantum erasers. Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to explore. So we understand that it's not a version, but it's for you, PMARS. You to know something in nature, you would have to follow this method. You agree? Disagree?
Okay, I mean, the scientific method is not science for one. They're different.
Oh my god.
And
with that, I will say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to everybody joining us in the Nathan Oakley live stream. Get it right this time. If you want to keep yourself occupied after this premiering stream has ended, then be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. That was much better than the live outro after my slightly passionate, maybe a bit more passionate than I hoped for, outro in regards to Bob. But yes, a massive thank you for joining us once again in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. Also a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this after show possible. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!